I be seeing you, Jimmy, talking about we Gucci boo boo. He in the Gucci store. Talking about we Gucci boo boo. The Black King was going, they was going up. Jimmy like, Marita Moneda.
It sounds like he wanted to do one with 50 Cent. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like Jim.
Nah, I don't want to do nothing with that sucker. You heard? Leave him out the conversation.
Who is Jim Jones? Like, he's not on anyone's top 10 list. He's like no one's top 10 list, maybe not even his family.
When Jay did the remix, it was the biggest alley-oop he could do for me. I understood a lot about music, and at that time, people were looking at the wrong way, and I was looking at the right way.
50 Cent just went off on Jim Jones for disrespecting Nas, and he brought receipts. He shared rare footage exposing how Jim went from calling Jay-Z soft to turning around and chasing a Roc Nation deal. The switch up? Wild.
If I told you I was in the Roc Nation office, how would you feel about that? Huh? You think I was lying? That's clear enough for you?
As most of you already know, 50 Cent has never really been a fan of Jim Jones or Jay-Z, but when it comes to Nas, he's got real respect. So, when Jim started talking wild, claiming he's better than Nas and that he made Nas go viral again, 50 wasn't having it. He took that personally, and now things are heating up.
For Nas, probably never been done for him in his life. He's never been that viral at all, ever.
What 50 Cent just exposed goes way beyond Jim Jones disrespecting Nas. This is about Jim's long-running pattern of disloyalty and snake-like moves. For years, he's been switching up. One moment he's beefing, the next he's begging. He'll disrespect someone, then suddenly submit, especially when it comes to Jay-Z. Think about it. Jim spent over a decade taking shots at Jay. He even went as far as slapping one of Jay's executives. But the moment he needed a deal, he ran right back to Jay-Z, calling him a hero and begging to get signed. Now, 50's using this moment to remind everyone exactly who Jim really is: a man with no loyalty, no real stance, and no respect for the culture he claims to represent. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Jim's diss toward Nas didn't just stir controversy, it backfired hard. Because it gave people like 50 the green light to start digging into Jim's past and expose everything. So let's break down exactly how Jim went from dissing Jay-Z to bowing down to him.
Some people shouldn't be able to say your names until they done something in the genre of music. I've done too much in this music to even have to answer that question. Like Jim Jones, who is Jim?
So we all know 50 Cent doesn't hold back on calling out fake players. And his recent comments about Jim Jones being Jay-Z's lapdog after Jim disrespected Nas put the spotlight on Jim's chronic flip-flopping. In case you missed it, Jim claimed he's better than Nas. And he even got into it with Shannon Sharpe, claiming he can run circles around Nas in the booth.
Nas, and I don't care what nobody say. I know I made a little boo-boo when we talk about the sales and all this type. I don't feel like getting into that rhetoric about where I started and where he started.
You said that.
But listen, Nas was nice when I was in high school. When I was in 10th grade, Nas came out. Nas was dope. We appreciated him. He had a little bit of run. But Nas always came up second to Jay and DMX and all these other people.
But lyrically, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you.
Yeah,
y'all
but look how you
with
dress.
Nas.
Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. And the
But
things
I-
that we, listen to
I
me,
can
the
be in the
things-
church house.
the-
You can't
the
F with Nas
things
lyrics.
that we- the
I don't know
things
who
that
told
we-
you that. Now look,
the
I know you
things-
on
the
that
things
good
that we
stuff,
listen
but
to
you're
and the
not
things that
seeing
you
Nas.
listen- Bro,
You're
it's a
not
bunch
seeing
of
Nas, bro.
You got a bunch
Let's
of
be
40
real.
and 50 you got a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds in their panties because I said I'm better
It
than
don't
Nas.
matter.
Look at you.
Hey,
I will
we
run
not
circles
denying
around
that.
Nas rapping right. I will run circles around Nas rapping right
Now,
now. Right
Nas,
now,
Nas,
I will
Nas,
run.
put his
I will
microphone
run.
up. Let me
I
take
will
my
run
mic
Saturn.
off.
I will
Give me
run
a mic.
Saturn around Nas right now rapping. Everybody.
A bunch of rappers called out Jim Jones after he claimed he was better than Nas, but instead of backing down, Jim doubled down. He even went as far as saying he made Nas relevant again, something that hadn't happened, according to him, since Nas went at Jay-Z.
He's never been talked about like this ever in his life.
Now, has Nas reached out to you?
You did the last time he was in some this what people were comparing is when him and Jay was beating on him.
And since Jim brought up Jay, you already know 50 Cent wasn't going to stay silent. He jumped in quick to remind Jim of his own past with Jay-Z. So, what did 50 do? He posted an old clip of Jim Jones at Roc Nation headquarters looking hyped and overly excited. But 50 didn't stop there. In the caption, he took a shot, writing, "Someone asked me if I have more enemies than friends. I thought about it and said, yes. Poor me. I'm suffering from success. LOL." Classic 50 turning a jab into a moment to flex.
If I told you I was in the Rock Nation office, how would you feel about that? Huh? You think I was lying? That's clear enough for you? Talk to me. Let me know your sentiments. You heard?
Now, you might think 50 Cent is just being petty, but his post hits a lot harder when you understand the full history between Jim Jones and Jay-Z. See, for over a decade, Jim went at Jay-Z with everything diss tracks, public shots, and even street fights. He made it personal. But then, when it worked in his favor, he did a full 180 and started chasing Jay's approval. That's what 50 is really calling out. And now, Jim's recent diss aimed at Nas is starting to blow up in his face because it's dragging all that old drama back into the spotlight. So, how did Jim go from dissing Jay-Z and even slapping one of his execs to suddenly begging him for a record deal? Let's rewind. Back in 2002, Cameron and Jim Jones were brought into Rockefeller by Dame Dash. Jim claimed Cam was promised a vice president role at the label, but Jay-Z never publicly backed that move. Cam later told a source, "I don't even know if I'm a take on the role yet. Me and Dame are still talking, but I mean I can have it. It's mine." Jay, on the other hand, responded to the source saying, "That's not taking effect yet. I think the talk is a little premature right now." So, yeah, the tension was there from the start. Things really heated up when Jay recorded a remix to Cameron and Joel Santana's hit Oh Boy, dropping a verse that dissed Nas. But Cam and Jim weren't having it. They refused to release the remix, and Cam even erased Jay's verse entirely, saying he wasn't about to let Jay use their track to fight his own battles.
Did a little something for you in the studio. Then he had something to Oh Boy.
This is Oh Boy's already #1?
Yeah, it's popping.
All right.
Yeah, I listened to it and I was like, erase.
That moment set the tone. Jim Jones and Cameron felt like Jay-Z didn't respect them, and that's when the sneak disses began. Jim started speaking out more in interviews and on the radio, taking shots at Jay. He painted him as out of touch with the streets, too corporate, too soft.
First of all, let's get right to it. There seems to be some drama. You and The Rock, Jay-Z, you try to diss. You did diss him.
I just nobody.
You dissed him.
I just Michael Jordan. Oh man, we just there's no drama, man.
No, we're gonna get to that.
Shouts to Dame Dash, who started Rockefeller Records. If y'all don't know, he's responsible for Rockefeller getting off the floor that started in Harlem. You know what I'm talking about?
Jim made it clear that Dipset's movement was raw, flashy, and aggressive. In contrast, Jay-Z came across as more polished and business-focused. Jim leaned into that difference, suggesting that the streets had moved on from Jay.
I ain't do that. You already know this. That bit. You on there, brother?
All right, that's some this. See, middleman. Give me that. I'm on there. Jones.
Ha Capo.
Burning the streets up. Y'all know what it is, man. Purple Haze coming out. My dude Cam album coming out. Joel Santana, he's slated for September. You know what they call me, Geronimo Pratt, Dipset, the new Black Man. No problems. I promise.
At first, Jay-Z didn't respond directly. But behind the scenes, everyone knew there was tension brewing inside Rockefeller. Fast forward to 2006, Jim Jones drops We Fly High, and the track takes off. Ballin' became a cultural catchphrase overnight. Jim finally had his solo hit. That's when Jay-Z decided to step in. He released Brooklyn High, a remix of Jim's own beat. But this wasn't a tribute. It was a direct shot. Jay mocked Jim's flow, his bars, even his signature ad-libs. The tone was cold, calculated, and dismissive. Jim fired back with the beef mix, flipping the beat once again. This time, he went straight at Jay, calling him old, out of touch, and weak. But then things escalated beyond music. In 2008, Jim was caught on security footage putting hands on someone inside a Louis Vuitton store. The victim? Jay-Z's longtime A&R, Lenny Santiago. Jim was arrested and later pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault.
Jim Jones, the rapper, is going down. Jim Jones. Jim Jones.
Now, when it comes to Jay, he never said anything publicly about the incident. But behind the scenes, his message was loud, and clear this wasn't just about rap anymore. It had gotten personal. A few months later, Jay sat down for an interview with XXL, where he talked about the state of hip-hop. And that's when he fired a subtle shot at Jim Jones. He brought up songs like Jim's Na 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 Na, calling them the kind of tracks that were damaging the culture. Jay said, "I mean, like Jim Jones, for example, and I don't mean this just because we never see eye to eye. He made Na Na Na." What's the difference between that and Smiley Face by Trey Songz and Soulja Boy? Na 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 could have been called Smiley Face. So now, Jay was playing chess, taking smart, strategic jabs. He might not have been in the streets, but he knew how to mock Jim without getting his hands dirty. From that point on, the beef went cold. Between 2010 and 2015, there weren't any diss tracks or public run-ins, just quiet tension simmering under the surface. But in 2015, Dipset made a move. They dropped a freestyle over Diddy's Victory beat, and both Cameron and Jim threw shade at Jay and Roc Nation. They mocked the whole brunch aesthetic, called the label industry puppets, and even took a swipe at Beyoncé. Cam rapped, "Having money don't make you a real one. You stepped on the court, you're gonna play my game. Just take Shawty's advice and say my name." It was a clear attempt to restart the feud. But by then, Jay-Z had moved way past that level. He was a billionaire, married to Beyoncé, collecting high-end art, launching Tidal, and running a sports agency. Simply put, he had no time for Jim and Cam's noise from the sidelines. In fact, a clip of Jay resurfaced recently where he made the perfect analogy. He compared himself to Michael Jordan, saying Jim was like the 8th guy on the bench yelling at the MVP.
Jim Jones, man.
Hip-hop, of course, you know, is a competitive sport. But on the other end of it, it's like certain people shouldn't be able to say your names until they done something in the genre of music. I've done too much in this music to even have to answer that question. Like Jim Jones, who is Jim Jones? Like, he's not on anyone's top 10 list. He's like no one's top 10 list, maybe not even his family. I was saying last night, it's like the 8th guy on the bench just screaming at Jordan, like, "You a bum. Like, you want to be like the 9th guy on the bench. I'm not even worried."
This is the moment Jim Jones realized he was only embarrassing himself by trying to diss Jay-Z. What happened next? That's exactly what 50 Cent is roasting him for now. Jim suddenly flipped the script, going from throwing shots to begging Jay to sign him. And guess what? In February 2017, it actually happened. Jim inked a deal with Roc Nation. After more than 13 years of beef, he officially joined Jay-Z's team.
A former rival who was relying on Hov's team to steer his career, as Dipset's Jim Jones is allegedly heading over to Roc Nation. Capo posted a picture of bottles of Douce and Ace of Spades next to a Roc Nation letterhead on IG and told fans to caption.
He didn't just sign quietly, he bragged about it. Suddenly, he was hyping up his invite to Jay-Z's Roc Nation brunch, the same event he once mocked. He started publicly praising Jay, doing everything he could to prove his loyalty. This is the same guy who used to clown Jay for being soft, accused him of betraying the streets, and even slapped one of his close friends. Now, he was out here calling Jay his role model. But Jay stayed silent. No public congratulations. No welcome post. Nothing. Just one awkward photo of Jay and Jim after the deal. And even in that picture, Jay looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Sure, Jim finally got a seat at the table, but Jay made it clear they were never equals. Jim was just another name in the Roc Nation filing cabinet. And that's ironic. From 2002 to 2017, Jim built his image by saying he wasn't Jay-Z. Dipset was the gritty, street-smart alternative to Jay's polished corporate brand. But in the end, money won. The persona Jim built over a decade crumbled the moment he needed a deal. Jay-Z didn't have to diss him. He didn't need to clap back. He just waited. And when Jim finally bent the knee, Jay signed the papers and moved on. And that's exactly 50 Cent's point. Jim spent years throwing shade at Jay only to end up chasing a seat at his table. Most people might have let that slide if Jim hadn't disrespected Nas's legacy. But the moment he did, it opened the door for people like 50 to start digging. And what they found? A long track record of flip-flopping, clout chasing, and fake loyalty. The receipts are heavy. Now the real question is, how far will this fallout go? Can Jim's career survive what's coming?